Hi and welcome. Cloud services send a big number of emails to their users. In this video, let's analyze which of these emails the cloud service is allowed to send without consent, and for which of these emails the cloud service has to obtain the consent, and how should this consent be obtained. So in the beginning, step number one, let's categorize the emails. Category number one, these are emails which are essential to provide the service. Examples are an email to reset the password, an email to confirm the email address, an email about the upcoming update of terms and conditions. The main aspect is that without these emails, the service cannot be reasonably provided, so they are necessary to provide the service. For these type of emails, the cloud service does not need to obtain the consent. And such emails also don't require an unsubscribe link at the end of the email. The second category of emails, these are emails related to the service. Might be a newsletter, product update, release notes, tips and tricks. This type of emails is not required in order to provide the service, but they might add some kind of benefit. So the user might choose to receive these emails, or they might say, okay, good, no, I'm not interested. I might go to the main page of the service and read these release notes once a year. For these type of emails, the service has to obtain the consent prior sending them. Consent is something which the user gives on a free basis. It must be informed. You must have somewhere a text which describes which type of emails the user would receive. And the consent must be explicit. This means that if you have a checkbox to obtain this consent, the user has to go and tick off this checkbox saying, yes, I have understood what it's about, I consent to that. Additionally to that, the user has to have the ability to unsubscribe for such emails at any point in time. This is typically an unsubscribe link at the end of the email, and you might also have a functionality in the platform itself where the user can set up their notification settings. If you have multiple types of such additional emails, not obligatory emails, the user might consent to emails regarding product updates, but they would not need a newsletter or something like that. Additionally, it's typically required that you maintain the record when did the user actually consent to that and what did they consent exactly to. So what does it mean? You need a date when they ticked off this checkbox, and additionally to that you need to store the text. So we have informed them that they will receive a newsletter and product updates. If you write it that explicit and later on you would start to send them emails about additional products, then very likely you will have to re-obtain the consent. So when writing up this text, you maybe would like to be quite generic, but not too generic, that like we will just send you some emails. Yeah, that will not fly. And there is a third category of emails. These are advertisement emails. Let's say you would have a cloud service for taking notes, and then somebody would tell you, can I pay you 10,000 bucks so that you can send my advertisement about cooking to your user base? And then you would do that, so there will be a user sitting there, and then suddenly, so like utilizing your note-taking app, and then suddenly they would receive an email about like cooking potato. Yeah, it's creepy. So for these type of emails, so advertisement emails, you really also need to ensure that you obtain a very explicit consent. The user understands that by registering on your platform, they will also get some advertisement emails which have nothing to do with the platform. And that's not an unusual case, because there are services that you pay for. This is where you pay for the functionality, so you kind of expect that your data will not be sold. But there are another type of services which are free services, and if the service is free, you are the dinner. So your data might be utilized, you might get some advertisement emails, your data might be sold. So if you are opting in for a free service, you really need to check how do they actually make money. So if they have a paid account, so you're using a free account and they have a paid account, that's like a kind of like clear, you might opt in for more functionality, you will pay for that. Yeah. But if they just have a free service and nothing else, then most likely they sell the data. So now what's the action? As a cloud service provider, you need to go in and write down all the categories of emails which you are sending to users. So the emails which are necessary for the performance of the contract, for delivering of the service, it's just a must-have. Yeah, you can send them, absolutely no problem. The second category, you need a consent, so it's better to check the platform, check the functionality. How do you obtain the consent? Did you store it? Did you store it also along with the text that the user have consented to? What will happen if you change this text, if you change which type of emails the users will receive? And if you would find a third type of emails, which are like a pure advertisement not related to the service, then you need to ensure that the users are very well informed that they have provided their consent to receive this type of emails. Typically, the first type of the emails rely on so-called contract with the user. It might be terms and conditions, it might be a contract with the company where this user is working. That's why you don't need consent, you just send us emails. The second and third type of emails rely on consent, but sometimes you are also allowed to send emails to users based on so-called legitimate interest of the company. This deserves a separate video because the topic of legitimate interest is quite complicated, so stay tuned. I'll try to record a special video when we will talk about this topic.